Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. You know, sometimes I feel almost guilty receiving a paycheck with certain interviews because they tend to do themselves, and this would be just one of those days. I want to welcome Pastor Barry Carter and Ray Fate from Hammer and Nails. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
And thanks for being here. And I truly mean that. I feel like I can now just kind of tee up a ball and kick back and just let you guys go.
I think she said we talk about it.
No, it's outstanding. First of all, Hammer and Nails, you're both doing amazing jobs. For anybody that might be new in town and not familiar with it, let's talk about that. Tell me a little bit about that ministry.
You know, we have a lot of people who aren't new in town that don't know what we do.
Okay.
So that's one of our biggest challenges, actually, is to let people know we exist. We're very small. We only have 4 paid staff, but we have a big cadre of volunteers. And what we do is we help people who are disadvantaged to some extent. We help them maintain and repair their homes. Mm-hmm. We also have a division that does wheelchair ramps for people. And the demand for wheelchair ramps is extremely high. We've been fortunate enough we put nine ramps in this year. It's an expensive endeavor. We are a small nonprofit located in Stark County. We only service Stark County. We're not a United Way agency. We're not funded by the government. It's 100% private donations and grants from local foundations.
And honestly, started by people who just lived here who saw a need, and they saw there are some homes getting in disrepair for one reason or another. A lot of times people aging in home.
That's it.
And not able to keep up with all those things that houses are always screaming to have us do to them. So you're able to come in and do that.
Well, you can imagine most of the homes in the cities are older, around 100 years old. And I know, you can picture it. I mean, you can picture a husband and wife buying that home when they got married 60 years ago.
Yes.
And the husband worked at the mill, rough life. He maybe passed away 10, 20 years ago, and here's this widow. All she has left of her whole thing was this house. And she can't keep it up anymore, and she can't even afford to keep it up anymore.
Right.
But she doesn't want to leave, and we don't want her to leave, Age in place where your home is and where your heart is.
Well, and a lot of these ladies that have these homes as well, their kids have moved out of town.
Yes.
Kids aren't in town anymore. They're by themselves. And they even have a hard time with contractors. Who do you trust? Who do you call? And if their kids aren't in town, maybe they get a referral from maybe a neighbor or something like that. So we provide a service that's incredibly important to these people.
You said wheelchair ramps are becoming more and more in need. Is that from some of these widows aging in place, or is that because we have a lot of military servicemen and women coming back who need, we might have some wounded warriors that need additional help, or is this a combination of all of the above?
Actually, it's not surprisingly not the widows that need the wheelchair ramps. It's younger people. We had a lot of younger people that suffered a stroke.
Wow.
Or we've had older people with diabetes who've lost a limb. We've had some people with cancer that were no longer able to negotiate life without a wheelchair. We've had children that needed a wheelchair ramp.
Wow.
And the need has always been there, and it grows every day because the population is aging. And we switched over a couple years ago, a year and a half ago, from wooden ramps to modular aluminum. And we've already, sadly, taken 2 ramps away and relocate them because the people we built them for have since passed. The good news is the families felt very good about the fact that this ramp could go to, they understand the needs, so they felt very good about the fact that we could relocate these ramps.
Yes.
And that way we can we put that investment together and we can help more people with the aluminum ramps than the wooden ramps. So we're not even close to meeting demand.
And not only does it help the people in the wheelchair, but we found that the person who's taking care of the person in the wheelchair, if they don't have a ramp, they sometimes end up with physical problems or rotor cuff injuries or whatever because there's no ramp. They have to get him in and out of the wheelchair ramp. So that's very, very difficult.
It's very difficult, yes. The caregivers, this is very helpful to them as well. Well, it's amazing the work that you're doing. As we're reading reports from Strengthening Stark that as a whole, as a county, we're becoming smaller, poorer, older. You're probably getting busier. Is this, am I reading that right?
Yeah, and the only thing holding us back, and it always comes to this, and I hate the fact that it does, is funding. if I had more funding, I'd hire another contract guy to go out in the field and to do twice as much work. This raising at $5 at a time is what we've been doing. Mm-hmm. We need. Seriously, we need an angel. We need somebody to say, you know what? I'm going to write you guys a check for $50,000 a year because I've been fortunate in life. And we think what we could do with that. Oh, my gosh.
Let's just hope that just fell on the right ears.
Well, that's what you always hope for.
That's right.
And we'll be glad to have a tour of our place.
Yes.
Glad to take you out and meet some of the families we put up ramps. If we could get that, I'd put a tire ramp division together, and we would be able to maybe catch up to the need. Because the more aluminum ramps we put in, the more stock we have for future transplants and future movement of ramps.
Is this something that a volunteer can learn to do? Do you operate with lots of volunteers?
Lots.
Okay, yeah, with 4 people paid staff, I would think that the bulk of your manpower is volunteer.
We've moved to a strategy where we have teams, typically of retired guys, and there's 2 to 3 guys to a team, and they do a day a week. But we have 4 teams now that do a day a week. So we get a lot done. It's all volunteer except for the one guy that is our project coordinator.
Wow.
Michael Durbin, fantastic guy.
Hats off to you, Michael.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. How did you two, who we've known very, very involved in the community in other areas, how did you two get drawn to Hammer and Nails?
He keeps following me wherever I go.
What an awesome team.
We went to high school together.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
but didn't
We didn't
even know
realize
each
it
other.
either. I wouldn't let him sit at my table. He was a junior when I was a senior. Are you kidding me?
Oh, what school? I must know.
Perry.
Oh, my
we
goodness.
both graduated from Perry.
Oh, wow.
But Ray and I met
We won't
through
hold that against
the
you.
homeless shelter in Massillon. I was pastoring a church in Massillon. Ray was overseeing the homeless shelter in Massillon. And when Affinity was tearing down the homeless shelter to put in a new emergency room, the community went in kind of emergency mode. And him and I worked together and partnered together with a whole community. It was we call it the Massillon Miracle.
Yes.
And Ray and I became friends then through that
Very cool.
through that whole scenario.
So you became friends. How did you get these friends come to Hammer and Nails?
I worked at ComQuest Community Services for 25 years or so, and it was time for me to retire, and I did, and I was out of work for entirely for one day. and
Okay, now I've tried that.
And the gal who founded Hammer and Nails,
Yes.
and was the director at the time, had some physical difficulties in the field, health scare. She retired. We had a common board member from each agency. He knew I had just left. He called me. And so, yeah, I love construction. So I thought, well, sure, this is better than sitting at home for my one day of retirement. And then, I don't know, Barry was just latching on. He's just always glamming on to my coattails.
You're doing
Well,
this
actually,
right?
what
That sounds
happened
like
at his
fun.
retirement party at
Yes?
his house,
Oh,
he
my.
has a pizza oven,
Yes?
outside pizza oven.
Oh,
So
yeah.
We're making pizzas, and I said, I could use a job on the side. And he said, what? I said, well, I'm looking for something, that I could be involved in the community. He goes, well, you're coming with me. So that's how we got together at Hammer and
That's
Nails.
awesome. That is awesome.
Yep.
It's amazing what you do. And if people are wanting to volunteer, or perhaps somebody is familiar with someone who needs some help, what's the process? How do you get on your list? Because it sounds like you've got a waiting
Well,
list.
you get on it now, you're going to be on it for a while. I can assure you that. But it's a simple matter. Everything goes through our website because we're not always in the office. Like right now, there's no one in our office.
Right, you're here. Yeah.
And it happens a lot that way because we go out into the field. So it's www.hammerandnails, all one word.
Spell it all out.
Yeah, spell it all out, .org.
All right.
Hammerandnails.org. And everything you need to know is right there.
It's right there. If you want to volunteer as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you are that person who wants to write a $50,000 check, that's there. How to do that right there.
You could write a $50,000 check to I used to work at Mercy. I love Mercy Medical Center. But to them, it's not a huge amount of money. To us, it's life-altering.
Yeah. Wow.
So, you can spend your 50 where you want to spend it, but every penny you donate to us stays in Starr County.
It's helping your neighbors, truly.
Oh, yeah.
we've talked about differences you've made for people to be able to come from the outside into the inside. But once you're indoors, what kind of interior work do you do to help people out?
We don't do systems. We don't do plumbing, heating and cooling, electrical. Now, we will replace faucets and toilets, that kind of thing, but the system of plumbing we don't do. We do anything that needs done. I mean, we're not in for interior decorating. You want to change the inside color of your house, forget about it. That's not what we do. But if you've had a water leak that's destroyed the drywall, the ceilings, we will take all that down, put up new drywall, plaster, and paint, repair floors that have rotted, floorboards that are maybe water damaged. So a lot of the work's outside, of course. Railings, porch floors, steps, all those kind of things that suffer at the hands of weather.
You bring up an interesting point because beautification around a neighborhood, there's something to that, and there's just something about community spirit and everything that goes along with that. Who should a person see if they need, some gardening done, some pretty landscaping done in front? That's probably you guys are too busy to be.
Well, we actually do that.
Do you do landscaping?
We use our youth groups for those projects.
Nice.
Because we can't put them up top of a 20-foot ladder. That'd be a big mistake. And most of them, I can't put a paintbrush in their hands because they'll drive me crazy. But
remember too, when Ray's talking, most of the houses in Canton or even Alliance are 2.5-story houses. These aren't ranch homes.
That's right.
So you got to watch who you're putting up on a ladder and make sure they know what they're doing. We don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Right.
So we use them for landscaping, clean up the brushes around the house that are causing damage, mulch, plant some flowers. We have a nursery in town that donates flowers to us. So, we do that.
So you're doing something to improve property value then?
Yes, not only protect it, but probably enhance it. Yeah, and not just for that house, but the houses that sit next to it and across the street from it benefit from this improvement.
Everybody does. Now, you're not making their property taxes go up, are you?
God, I've always said, if you improve a house, you should get an abatement until you sell that house.
I agree.
Yeah, I will say that again, Mr. Harold.
Put it out there. Put it out there for consideration.
I mean, that's incentivize people improving their homes, not disincentivize.
Exactly. Yeah, if I let this really get run down, I won't have to pay any property tax.
I know.
Yeah, that's not exactly, I think, correct thinking. You've got an amazing event coming up to support what you do. I want to spend the second half talking all about it, but let's introduce this right now. What's going on?
It's Geezers and Guitars.
Yay.
It's a battle of the old guy bands. These are guys that formed bands in the 60s and 70s in high school. Because, Beatles were popular. They wanted to be the next Beatles. All these garage bands. And they're still at it. They're still at it 40, sometimes 50 years later. And we have 4 of them coming together at our second annual Geezers and Guitars.
Now, are you telling me that these guys get together regularly, or are they getting together because you're doing this event?
Oh, no.
They getting the band
play
together?
No.
They still play?
Oh, yeah. These guys have gigs all the time. You can find them on YouTube, most of them. Jeff Polis Trio's new to the event this year. He's well known.
So good.
Yeah. He's got his trio's going to be there.
Wow.
Then we got Triple Play. That's Chris McBurney from was former Perry Schools principal, and he was in last year, and his band Triple Play is going to be here this year. Some of these guys play multiple bands.
Yes.
Chris Winthrop's going to be there. He's fantastic.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
His drummer's the same drummer as Jeff Polis' trio.
Yes, right.
So then there's this near-death experience band, and these are all guys that had heart surgery or have had a near-death experience. And that's my brother's in that band.
So these are, then they're in their 60s, 70s?
Yeah,
older?
Absolutely. Yeah, 60s and 70s.
60 and 70-year-old guys who can still rock
Oh, they
out.
do. And, they got together as kids to attract the ladies, and now they're well past that stage. So now they play for the love of the music.
But maybe their kids enjoy it and their grandkids enjoy it. All righty. We are going to find out more about Geezers and Guitars and how you can enjoy this amazing evening and support a great cause at the same time. Stay with us. You're listening to Our Community. Welcome back to Our Community.
Well, I needed that break.
Yeah. Feeling better? We're with Pastor Barry Carter and Ray Fate. They're with Hammer and Nails. And more importantly, today we're talking all about geezers and guitars. What night is this taking place? Where and when? And how do we go?
It's the last Thursday of the month, February 27th. It's at the Lincoln Lions Theater. And last year we had, I think the whole bottom floor, if I remember correctly, was filled. And it was an incredible evening. Mm-hmm. It was really good.
And that was your first one?
That was our first one.
Well, you know everybody that went to that is going to tell a friend, and you could totally sell out. So how do we get tickets?
Well, again, you can go online at www.hammerandnails.org, or they're available retail at the Overtime Grill and Pub in Massillon, or the Engravers Gallery in Massillon.
So you can buy them in Massillon at those two places, or you can buy them online?
Yeah, absolutely.
Will they mail them to you?
Yes.
Or do you? Oh, okay.
Yes, and if it gets too close to the event, we'll hold them at the door. But I suggest if you want to go, you get them early, because it was well attended last year, and I think maybe we'll sell 200 more tickets, and that'll about be the limit.
And Lions Lincoln Theater, just for anyone who's not been in, it is an amazing, beautiful venue.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
On par with Palace Theater of Canton.
Yeah, it's a smaller scale.
Yes.
But I love it. There's plenty of parking nearby. And, here's the best part. 4 bands, $15.
$15 for the night.
$15.
That's all it is.
Yep.
And are we voting on, is this a battle of the
we're going
bands?
to get celebrity. Do you want to be one of our judges?
Are you kidding? Of course.
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
No, not at
You've
all.
said that in public now.
Yes. We like to get about 4, maybe 5 judges.
Okay, celebrity is stretching it to the max.
You kidding?
No. That is really a stretch.
My heart is just pitter-pattering.
But as a friend, I would love to do
We'll
that.
probably get 200 more tickets just because Susie's going to be
I
there.
know.
I don't think so.
You would be a fantastic, and you don't have to sit in a special seat. You can sit with your family, and you get a little score sheet that you turn in at the end of the evening.
Oh my, yes.
You would be a fantastic judge. Just don't throw any items of clothing up on the stage at any of the bands.
How about tomatoes?
Well, you can throw tomatoes at my brother all you want.
Yes, he and I went to college together. Oh my
sorry.
goodness, that is so fun. Who of these bands played last year so that people can say, "Ooh, I want to hear them again"?
Chris Wintrip is intact as they were before. Different guys, like Chris McBurney was in a different band last year, and they actually won the event.
Wow.
They were called the Random Guys Band.
But now they're triple play?
It's a different band altogether. Chris is the only repeating member.
Okay.
And this happens a lot. They play for multiple bands that do different kind of gigs. Jeff Polis is all brand new. We were lucky to get Jeff. I've known Jeff a long time.
Yes.
And then my brother was in a band last year, and frankly, they just weren't up to it.
They weren't?
No, they just weren't.
Is that a brother talking?
No, he knows his lead vocalist forgot all the lyrics, and
so this is to redeem themselves.
And they got a girl, Josie McGee, who's on YouTube. Mm-hmm. She's their lead vocalist. Young girl. She's not a geezer, believe me. Boy, she is good. They got horns. They're
so
like
she's
a little
their ringer?
Ringer.
She's their ringer.
She's
brought
the
okay.
Well, it takes a lot to outweigh my brother's lack of charisma. So
he kids.
Oh no, I was totally serious.
This is brotherly love, I can tell. So now I'm concerned though. Near-death experience. These guys all have health issues.
Well, yeah. Have you ever seen my brother lately?
No, not no.
He's a heart
I
attack
haven't
waiting
seen your
to
brother
happen.
since he was like 20 years old.
Well,
so.
you won't even recognize him.
Okay.
There's two of him there where one used to be.
Okay. I guess we should remember that there are people listening to this conversation. So, all right, this is going to be too much of a fun night. Again, February 27th at Lions Lincoln Theater in Massillon. Mm-hmm. You want to go online, hammerandnails.org, to get those tickets. Or where are the other 2 places that we can pick them up?
Yeah, well, you can give them at the Overtime Grill in Massillon and Bonnie's Engravers Gallery.
All right.
Yep, right downtown Massillon.
Ray, you said this was your idea.
Yeah.
How did this come to you?
I don't know. I do. I was at the time I was writing a book about music. I was writing a book about named bands with names like the Ink Spots, the Beatles, that kind of thing. And I'm thinking, man, I just love this. This is just awesome. And I'm thinking, music? I always liked doing concerts. We did some Christian music concerts when I was at the other place. And I said, well, we can't afford these artists. We investigated. Well, so what we need is free bands.
Yes, right.
Well, who's going to want to play for free? Well, they do the thing in Canton with the high school bands.
Yes.
The garage bands. I'm thinking, this is it. Just all these older guys, they'll play anywhere, anytime, just to play.
Love having an audience and love playing.
The geezers and guitars, one of my board members was a little concerned it was insulting, and I just blew him off completely.
Did any of these people complain when you said, I'd like you to be in geezers and guitars?
We've never had a problem getting a band.
No one has said, I'm insulted that you're calling it that.
Oh, no, they know. I mean, geezer's a friendly word.
It is.
I mean, it's not mean-spirited at all.
Yeah.
No, it's a crown of admiration.
It's an accomplishment to still be playing and rocking out on stage.
Yes.
So it just came kind of naturally.
So, Pastor Barry, did you ever play in one of these garage bands?
No, I did not. No.
Nope.
No,
so,
not the garage band guy.
But you went to some of these. You were all in, though, as soon as Ray mentioned this
absolutely.
idea.
That was a great idea.
Yes. I've got to go back to something you just said.
Oh, no.
You wrote a book about named bands?
Yes. I should have brought a copy for you.
My
That's
goodness.
my mistake.
All right, tell me. That's okay. Tell me about this.
Well, I got curious about when bands stopped being named after their lead, like Glenn Miller Orchestra, the McGuire Sisters.
Yes.
And when they started taking on a name that they created for themselves.
Buddy Holly and the Crickets?
The Crickets, right.
Okay, but it still had Buddy Holly.
Still featured Buddy Holly.
So Beatles? Would they be the
Beatles
first?
would be considered. No.
The
Beatles
Doors?
were in the 60s. In the late 40s, even late in 1939, this group formed. They were the only way they're included in the book is if they charted in the top 40. No, actually, these ones charted number one.
What?
To prove that they're a legitimate band.
Yes, okay.
The first named band to make it was the Ink Spots.
Of course. Of course.
And they charted number one with several songs.
Sure.
And then, because there's been a bazillion bands, but to legitimize yourself for inclusion in the book, you had to. And then you find out, even more importantly, bands like Deep Purple and CCR and Three Dog, they never charted number one.
Wait a minute, say that again.
Bands.
What?
Moody Blues, Led Zeppelin.
What?
CCR had 4 songs chart number 2, but they never made it to number 1.
Was it because their songs were too long to play on the radio?
Some of them
We
were heard
just
by
were
airplay.
listening to it just because we all knew it. But
Yep. They had number 1 albums,
Creedence
but number 1 singles.
Clearwater Revival never
Yeah.
had a number 1.
4 number
Moody
2s.
Blues never
I know.
Are
Look how long it took Moody
you
Blues to get into the Hall of
kidding?
Fame. You got to be kidding me about that. But anyway, it's an interesting book. Then I did a B-side in a book that talked about bands like Deep Purple and that didn't make it. And there's a whole section on bands that are have the same name as a city, bands have the same name as a country, bands that have a color in their name, have a food in their name. Just fun stuff.
You're really into this. How long of research went into something like this? I mean, that just had to be, must have been a labor of
Well,
love.
I spent half of my time at work working on it. So
Which you can
If
say
you
now.
know Ray, he's always thinking.
4 hours a
that's
day, easy, man. Now,
Yes.
It took me about a year to pull it together.
That is just
Yeah.
amazing. What was most surprising to you? The who didn't have
Those
a number
bands
one?
that did not had never had some of it was competition.
Mm-hmm.
They were active during a time when there were a lot of named bands, and they peaked in the 60s and 70s, and they've tailed off now. There's still some named bands like Maroon 5, but most acts are solo acts now. So
That's true.
it lost kind of its flavor, but man, there were named. And then the other surprise was the 2 cartoon bands that actually hit number 1.
Oh, Archie,
The
maybe
Archies,
the
yeah,
Archies,
with
and
Sugar Sugar.
And what was the other one?
The
Josie and the
Chipmunk song.
Pussycats. Oh, okay.
No, the Chipmunks. The Christmas song with
Chipmunks.
Dave Seville.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that gets back to these. None of these. Well, some of them have somebody's name in them, but most of these have. No, these are all named bands, aren't they? Except for Jeff Polis.
Well,
Jeff Polis Trio.
I wouldn't consider Chris Wintrip.
Okay.
That would not be considered a named band, and nor would Jeff Polis.
Right.
But Near Death Experience is a named band, and Triple Play is a named band.
What goes into a band coming up with their name?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
You can't believe some of the bands, how many name iterations they went through to get to where they were.
Do you know any, like off the top of your head,
Yeah.
like bands we would recognize, things they went by earlier?
Kara's Flowers,
What's that?
Pink Floyd.
What?
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember any more of them.
You know, for people of a certain age, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm wondering what age is it not? Because
Well, I mean, like Leonard
this is
Skinner.
not- yeah.
That's their high school gym teacher.
Because his
Leonard
name was what?
Skinner.
Leonard Skinner.
And he
And
used to
they
make fun of their hair all the time.
and they called him Leonard Skinnerd, and then that became their
Yeah,
band.
and then they reconciled years later, and he was actually on an album cover for them. So,
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Well, and then there were so many people who mispronounced the name of that band when they
Right.
first came out and called it Leonard Skinner. And
Yeah.
we're like, what? It's
Yeah.
Leonard Skinnerd.
Yeah, that's right.
And so there's that. But they were actually right because that's who they were naming it after.
Yeah, you probably need to come out with some of that trivia at this event, Ray.
Oh, that would
That'd
be
be
good.
fun.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I was looking how to fill the time between acts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because
things you
sometimes
didn't
Ray's
know.
jokes are really good, and other times they're just not up to par. So this would be better, Susie.
I
with the
even had a
trivia.
couple
He's
of them
really
picked
good at the
out.
trivia.
This would be really, really good. Yeah, because we'll learn something. It'll be very educational. You know, getting more in case we're ever on Jeopardy or something and we need
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of knowledge. That would be really fun to know.
It's
some of
fun.
some of this history.
Yeah, and today, lately, I've been working on another one on one-hit wonders.
Oh, so you're working on another book?
Yeah, it's more like a compendium. There's not a lot of creative writing in it, but I found so far, a one-hit wonder in my mind is a song that charted in the top 40, but they never returned again. Mm-hmm. And so far, I found 350 of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Who would we be most surprised we never heard from again?
Oh, I can't even begin to tell you.
I can think of a
I can't.
two-hit.
It's like Dexy's Midnight Runners did Come On Eileen.
Oh, yeah.
And that song was so hot because of the video that went with it.
Right.
And you thought, oh, these guys, they're golden. Never heard from them again.
Well, when Don McLean did Bye Bye Miss American Pie,
Yeah.
you know, that was just amazing. And then Vincent on the flip side.
Right.
What
Vincent
else
did well.
What else did he do?
But that's it.
So it's a
He's
two-hit.
not in the book because he had two
He had
hits.
two.
Yep.
Yeah,
And that's
he-
what one of the artists said. He goes, having a one-hit wonder is easy. Being a two-hit wonder is where the work's at.
You have to have a really good side B.
Yeah.
Well, any chance that any of these guys will be recording? Is there any plan to record this program and make it available to benefit Hammer and Nails?
Well, we've never thought about that.
Okay, there's a
But
a
now we're
suggestion.
thinking about it.
Okay,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
one for the box.
I hate that. She just gave us more work to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because some people might not be able to go, but they sure want to support your efforts,
Yeah.
and they would love to hear this music.
Yeah, I got a guy that does concert recording. I could give him a buzz and see what we'd be getting into for that.
We've accomplished quite a lot today.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to make sure that people come to this concert. They're going to buy your book called what? Named Bands?
It's
Where do you get it?
Yeah, it's
She put you right on the spot.
I
didn't
know.
she, Ray?
it is. It's called Chart Toppers
Chart Toppers.
of named bands, and so
And where do we find this book?
hammerandnails.org.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Does Amazon have it?
No.
Okay. We
No,
got to
I
come
lose
to
too
Hammer and
much
Nails.
if I do that.
Okay.
We don't. All proceeds go to Hammer and Nails.
That's awesome.
So if I go through Amazon or any other service like that, we lose
They
percentages.
take too much.
Yeah.
All right. Go to Hammer and Nails. Where are you located?
We're at 1404 7th Street Northwest, right next to Kennedy's Barbecue.
And I bet you can buy tickets to
You
DJs
can.
and Guitars at there as well. We want to go to hammerandnails.org, and I'm judging. These are all the things we have accomplished today. Pastor Barry Carter, Ray Fate, Hammer and Nails, thank you for everything you do in our community.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Susie.